Yeah. So, very good evening to all. And we have today Dr. Rajshekhar Reddy from Department of Electrical Engineering, so National Institute of Technology, Surat. And of course, we have other guests from other academic institutes, industries, and my dear participants who belong to various knowledge groups, professional members, student members, and non-members, faculty members. So everyone, very good evening to all of you. On behalf of IEEE Power Electronics, Industry Applications, Power and Energy Joint Chapter, Vizag section. So I welcome you to today's expert lecture on grid synchronization and multifunction control of voltage source inverters in distribution generation systems. And this is one of our event that we are continuing with a lot of industry experts and then academic experts for delivering these expert lectures. And almost this is the now 19th expert lecture that we are arranging today. And this is how we are, planning a lot of technical events by our joint chapter. And with this brief introduction, now we'll proceed our today's program. And of course, whatever this this session will make ensure that we're going to enjoy, and then it will fulfill your all requirements for if any have interaction needed for your future research work and all. So let us make use of it, and then gain knowledge for your future research also. So with this, I will thank everyone. Now I request Dr. Ashwin, treasurer of our joint chapter, so to introduce the speaker. Thank you.
Good evening to all the participants. So, Dr. Rajshekhar Reddy, Chilipi, received the BTech degree in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Hyderabad, India in 2006, and the PhD degree in Electrical Engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, India in 2014. From 2006 to 2008, he was a lecturer at Bapatla Engineering College, Bapatla, India. During November 2013 to October 2014, he worked as postdoctoral research fellow at Electrical and Computer Engineering Department, National University of Singapore. From December 2014 to November 2019, he worked as postdoctoral research associate at Electrical and Computer Engineering, Khalifa University, Abu Dhabi, UAE. Since December 2019, he is working as an assistant professor at the Department of Electrical Engineering, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Vallabhbhai National Institute of Technology, Surat, Gujarat. He has published a number of research papers in various referred journals. He has received an award from Indian Ministry of Energy, Department of Power, for the best paper published on power development and utilization. His research interests include self-excited induction generators, power electronic applications in renewable energy systems, electric drives, power quality, and control of custom power devices. So on behalf of IEEE, PES, PELS, and IS Joint Chapter, I warm welcome Dr. Rajshekhar Reddy sir. Thank you for giving this opportunity, Sandeep sir. Over to Sandeep sir.
Yes, thank you, Ashwin. And now I request Dr. Rajshekhar Reddy to deliver the talk.
Okay, thank you, Sandeep. Thank you for inviting me. Okay, I will share my presentation now. Sandeep, can you see it?
Yes. Yeah, you can make a full screen. There only, yeah.
So is it full screen now?
Yes, yes. Yeah, please proceed. Yeah.
One second. Okay. Okay. What about now, Sandeep? Is it?
Yes, yes. Yes,
Okay.
it's perfect now.
Thank you. Good evening, Ananda. Thank you for coming, attending this lecture. Okay. Today my this presentation topic is about grid synchronization and multifunctional control of voltage source inverters in distributed generation systems. As I think already Mr. Ashwani has given introduction about me. Right now, I am working as a assistant professor in Sardar Vallabhbhai National Institute of Technology, Surat. Okay, this is the outline of the presentation. It starts with the introduction, and I'll be after that. We'll be looking into distribution generation systems with shunt compensation capabilities. After that, multiple distribution generation systems with same shunt compensation capabilities. Then we have distribution systems with the series and shunt compensation capabilities, and then references. Okay, let's have a look at introduction and what is the distribution generation system. Like this we have two types of system. One is a decentralized and the centralized system, and we this centralized system is made up of our generators, power transmission network, and the loads. They are all not accessible to the remote areas, and also sometimes because of application of if you use distributed generation systems made up of wind turbines, fuel cells, and they can be they are near to the loads, and also thereby it will reduce the transmission losses. If you okay, so that is the idea behind it for this decentralized power generation and distributed generation. And in distributed generation, we will mainly use these hydro photovoltaics, wind turbines, and fuel cells like that. And these distribution generation systems, they can be connected to your utility grid, or they can be operate. They can operate in islanded mode. Okay, there are two types of two modes of operation for these distribution generation systems. As we know, these all these distribution generation systems, as we use renewable energy sources, they are not. We cannot feed that. The extracted power from the renewable energy sources directly to the load. So we use voltage source inverter to convert this renewable energy source into a usable energy source, right? So this inverter, usually we use power electronic converters like voltage source inverter. This inverter mainly interfaces these renewable energy sources to the utility grid, or these renewable energy sources to the loads. Okay. If you look at the grid connected mode of operation, the voltage source converter's main function is to export the real power, and okay, and also this same inverter, voltage source inverter, may also be used for providing ancillary services such as compensation, such as reactive power and active power compensation for power quality improvement. Okay, we go for this type of auxiliary services or ancillary services whenever there is availability of inverter capacity. So usually this inverter main function is to generate the active power. Okay, right? So this active power either fed to loads, or it will be fed to grid. Okay, if the inverter is being not completely utilized, if the inverter capacity is not being completely utilized, what we do, we can use the remaining capacity of this voltage source inverter for the power quality purposes. So that is the idea here. So if you use that, this way we would eliminate installation of additional power conditioner devices. Okay, when we use this inverter for active and react, when we use this inverter for active power generation along with the power quality improvement through reactive power and harmonic currents compensation, we need to consider various power components that inverter is going to handle in this situation. As you see here, P is the active power component that inverter is going to handle, and Q is the reactive power component. Okay, and DH is the distortion power. We call it distortion power. This will present only when the loads that are connected to the distribution network or distribution system are the non-linear loads in the. Okay, if they are non-linear in nature, we'll be looking at this harmonic power or distortion power. So you since the if you assume that the inverter is connected to a grid of constant voltage, in such cases, the inverter capacity mainly decided by the loading. Inverter loading is mainly decided by the current components. So, okay, here based on these various active power components, we can write it, we can represent it, we can have different current components. So, if you assume voltage is constant, that is active power current, active power component of the inverter current, and then reactive power component of the inverter current, and then we have distortion power component of the inverter current. Okay, so when you consider all these components simultaneously, you have to make sure that inverter current never exceeds its rated value. So that is the objective here. Okay, in order to do that, in order to simultaneously export the real power to the grid and simultaneously provide compensation of harmonic and reactive currents, we need we need a flexible control system that should calculate these harmonic currents and reactive currents. Okay, and it should provide reference signals so that it will the inverter injects these harmonic and reactive currents without exceeding its rated current. Okay, so here main objective in front of us is the main objective in front of us is to find out these IQ and IH components. How do we find out from the load currents? Okay, for that purpose, I have used these adaptive noise cancellation filters. Based on this, we'll see what is this, and we will see how I am using this adaptive noise cancellation filter to find out these IQ and IH components of the load currents. So here it is a single phase DG distributed generation system. I have considered it single phase one to demonstrate the concept here. We have you see here we have a voltage source inverter. It is interfacing these renewable energy sources to the grid with the help of this voltage source inverter, and it is coupled at the point of it is connected to the point of common coupling. Okay, where load and grid are meeting. Okay, through a filter inductor, and we are assuming that it is the DC bus of this voltage source inverter is being maintained at 400 volts. Okay, you see here this load current this load current may be drawing harmonics. It may contain harmonics and reactive current. Okay, and these reactive and harmonic components of the load current IL could be compensated by this voltage source inverter. Okay, when it has excess capacity. So therefore we need to give priority for the active power generation first. Later we can give either priority for harmonic or reactive current compensation. Okay, based on this remaining current capacity of the voltage source inverter. So if you look at the control structure for this system, this is the basic control structure. You can see here we are giving preference to this reference active power generation, assuming that it is we know how much power to be injected, and then we am using a PLL. It is for synchronization. We are using this from the PLL. We are getting this theta of fundamental voltage component. Okay, you can see here we are sensing. We can sense these load currents, and these load currents are being decomposed into harmonic and reactive and active components. So based on these harmonic and reactive components, we estimate their we estimate their RMS values, and then we are going to estimate the compensation factors for the voltage source inverter. Okay, so basically this control algorithm or control block diagram, the main purpose is to define or to derive these, to realize control signals or reference current signals for the voltage source inverter. Okay, so you see here it is the actual current for the voltage source inverter is IVSI, and the reference signal for the voltage source inverter is I star VSI. Okay, so this is the main objective is to find out this IVSI such a way that it will fulfill all its objectives. Okay, and if you look at this control algorithm, this has following set of objectives. One is reference active power generation along with DC link voltage regulation, and second objective is it is harmonic and reactive currents compensation with the remaining capacity of the voltage source inverter. So if you take this nonlinear current of the load, that can be composed, that can be split into a fundamental component and the harmonic frequency components. So this fundamental component can be further decomposed into active component and reactive component. Okay, so the aim of our voltage source inverter is to provide compensation of these harmonic current and this reactive part of the fundamental current. So okay, let's see, and also we cannot inverter, this voltage source inverter may not be in a position to supply all the current, that is all the harmonic current and all the reactive current, but we need to set compensation factors based on the inverter's remaining current capacity. Okay, first of all, before going into our control structure, we need to first of all find out these components. How to find out these components? These harmonic currents and reactive currents. So for that purpose, as I said, I'll be going to, I'm using this adaptive noise cancellation filter. It has two inputs. It has three inputs actually. One input is your load current, and other two inputs are these cos theta and sin theta, which are obtained from PLL, that is applied over our PCC voltage. Okay, here the currents ILFP and ILFQ are obtained by multiplying, these weights WPF and WQF with cos theta and sin theta respectively. So therefore, you can say that these are the active and reactive components of the fundamental current. Okay, are obtained by multiplying this cos theta and sin theta with MQ and MP respectively. That means they are nothing but their amplitudes, right? Their magnitudes. Okay, and so this is and then the load current is and then we are getting this output current, which is assumed to be a fundamental component of the load current. Then we have the error, which is obtained by subtracting the output of this ANC filter from the IL. Okay, this error we are multiplying. This error we are multiplying with cos theta and sin theta, and then it is being passed through gain G. You see here what is happening actually. This error may have frequency components other than fundamental frequency, right? So when you have the components other than fundamental frequency, and when you multiply this with cos theta, which is a fundamental frequency, and then you are passing it through integrator, okay, what will happen, if the error has only other frequency components, that will this after the integration it will reach to steady state. Okay, unless it has same frequency component as that of cos theta or sin theta, so the integrator output will start to increase or decrease. Okay, so that's how it works. Similarly, for reactive current component also, this lower block is operating on that same principle. Okay, so as I said, if you look at that error, this is the error is equal to error at kth sampling instant is equal to IL minus your harmonic frequency components. Actually, you should pardon me, it starts from 2 here, it's not 1. Okay, so see here we are using only one filter, which is in order to extract the fundamental frequency component of the load current. Okay, the problem here is that in our, since this error has all the lower order harmonic components that are closer to fundamental frequency, in order to filter them out, what we need to use? We need to use very low value, very small value for this gain G. That would lead to sluggish response or slow performance of this filter. Okay, in order to get good, in order to get a good way for good fundamental component, that means distortion free ILF. So this G value has to be very low. So that would lead to sluggish performance of the this filter. So in order to avoid that, what we are doing is I have I have used multiple filter structure. So like shown here. So I'm using n number of filters. Okay, for each harmonic component, right? One filter for each harmonic component. So here it is the first one extracts the fundamental frequency. Second one extracts the third harmonic component, assuming that our load current does not have second harmonic frequency component. And the third one extracts the fifth harmonic frequency component, and last one extracts this nth harmonic frequency component. Okay, and if you observe this structure, what is happening in this structure is this error does not contain all these harmonic frequency components which you are estimating here. So the error is free from the harmonic frequency components that we are estimating here. So that would lead to, in that case, what you can do, you can use a large value for G. Okay, the gain parameter. When you use large value for G, it will improve the filter dynamic response. So that would lead to your fast estimation system. Okay, here is the example. First, on left hand side, we have this adaptive noise cancellation filter, where it is extracting where it is supposed to extract the fundamental frequency current. Okay, and the right hand side, we are using multiple filter structure, where it is extracting the fundamental frequency current. Okay, you can see the distortion in the estimated or extracted fundamental frequency component because of the error. Okay, because of the error, you see here error magnitude is high in the first case. Okay, because of this error, this filter is giving you better poor performance or poor steady state performance. So in order to improve the steady state performance, you need to reduce the gain value in this case. So that then then you will have to compromise that dynamic performance. Okay, to avoid that, what we are doing, we are using multiple filter structure. So if you can see that, if you look at that multiple filter structure, it has all the it is estimating several harmonic components in addition to the fundamental one. Okay, so that is the reason why we have very small error. Okay, this error, it can be easily processed by all those filters. Okay, so because of that, we see here the fundamental frequency component that is being extracted from the load currents is purely sine wave. And also you can see here using the estimated harmonic frequency components and fundamental frequency component, I have added them up. Okay, when you add all these components, this you see here that is approximately equal to my actual load current. That means this system, this ANC filter structure is perfectly estimating all those harmonic components. That means because we are able to reconstruct the load current using the estimated these harmonic frequency currents. Okay, so that is the advantage here. Why I went for this harmonic multiple filter structure. When I am going for this multiple filter structure, I have mentioned that, remember here, these are these weight the outputs of the integrators. They are nothing but the amplitudes of these active and reactive components of the corresponding frequency current. Okay, if it is a fundamental frequency you are giving, okay, so then here WPF, WP and WQ, they represent amplitudes of reactive and active components of the fundamental frequency current. So if your theta corresponds to a third harmonic frequency current, so here you are getting the amplitudes of active and reactive components of the third harmonic frequency current, third harmonic current. Okay, that is the advantage here. Once we have peak values, you can easily calculate their corresponding RMS values. So Okay, that's about estimation. Once we have once we have estimated those harmonic and reactive current components of the load current, then we'll go for reference signal estimation. Okay, then reference active and reactive power. So this reference current signal has three components. Okay, the first component is active power generation component. This component is responsible for injecting the reference power to the grid and maintaining the DC link voltage. So to do that, we are okay. This VSC is injecting a current, okay, which is equal to IP star minus IDC star into sine omega sine theta. Now, theta nothing but omega 1t. Okay, here IP star and IQ star represent the amplitudes of the currents to be injected by the inverter for reference active power generation and DC link voltage control. Okay, this is how I am getting those IP star and IDC star. They have to be injected in phase with the voltage, grid voltage, fundamental frequency fundamental component of the grid voltage, right? So that's why I am taking omega 1. Yeah. And the other part of the reference current signal is this compensating current. This inverter voltage source inverter injects the compensating current to make the grid free from harmonic and reactive currents drawn by the local loads. The fundamental reactive current ILFQ is that is extracted in figure 4. Okay, here you see here we are taking this component. Okay, and okay, and the harmonic currents of the load, harmonic components of the load current are multiplied with their respective compensation factors and then added to get reference compensating current to be injected by the inverter. So here what we are doing is we are taking those reactive and harmonic currents of the load and we are multiplying them with GQ and GH respectively so that we will get the compensating current that to be injected by the voltage source inverter. So the problem is here how to calculate these GQ and GH. So we calculate this GQ and GH based on the remaining capacity of the voltage source inverter. So let's see what is the remaining current capacity. If this IR is the actual current capacity of the voltage source inverter based on the kVA rating, we are deriving that. Okay, and so in the our current rating of the voltage source inverter. Okay, once we have this rated current, from that rated current we are subtracting the active current. Okay, so which is calculated here, this active current, RMS value of the active component. Okay, so from that we will get the remaining current capacity of the voltage source inverter. Okay, once we have that, this remaining current capacity, what I am doing is I am checking whether this current capacity is enough to compensate the the existing harmonic and reactive components of the load current. So let's see, if IR equal to 0, that means we don't have any capacity. Okay, that means inverter is fully loaded. Okay, that means it is not available for these ancillary services such as harmonic and reactive currents. So therefore we are setting GH and GQ equal to 0. So then second case, if your remaining current capacity is greater than 0, but it is less than the RMS value of harmonic currents, okay, then inverter can offer partial compensation of these harmonic currents and zero compensation of reactive currents. So that's why we make GQ equal to 0 and this GH equal to IR prime versus IR prime over ILH. So then third case, there is a case where this inverter remaining current capacity is more than harmonic current value, but it is less than combined harmonic and reactive currents. So in that case, what inverter can fully compensate these harmonic currents, but partially it can partially compensate only reactive current. So this is how we are calculating GQ and we are setting GH equal to 1 in this case. So then final case where this remaining current capacity is enough to compensate both and harmonic currents together. So in that case, we make GH and GQ equal to 1. Okay, this is how we approach. Then this is the flow chart. How we are estimating those GQ and GH. Once we have GQ and GH, we will calculate this reference compensating component. Okay, then we add that compensating component to active power injection component, so that will give you reference current. Once we have reference current, then we will be comparing that with the actual current that will be given to this error. This current error is used in uh, switching our IGBTs of the voltage source inverter. Okay, this is the setup here. We have which I have developed during my postdoctoral period. Okay, at Khalifa University, we have a, you see here we have a, programmable grid as well, and then we have loads and which is implemented on DSpace, and you can see your voltage source inverter. Okay, let's have a look at these results. As I said, yeah, this first case in figure 8, performance of the DG inverter under a step change in uh, active power generation is demonstrated here. Okay, here voltage source inverter power is varying from 7.5 kilowatt to 7.25 kilowatt. Okay, that we are there is active power generation change. Initially, the inverter is fully loaded by active power generation since it is since its rating is 7.5 kVA, so it is fully loaded. And then and then this power drop has occurred. Active power generation has been reduced by 250 watts only. Okay, so you can see the variation in the grid current waveform and the inverter current waveform, and also you can see the variation of these compensation factors. As long as inverter is fully loaded, grid current is seen to have this arm or seen to be distorted because it is supplying load harmonics as well. Okay, once the DG power generation is reduced, it is the remaining capacity is being used in compensation of these active and harmonic and reactive currents. So you can see the improvement in the grid current, and also you can see this change in the wave shape of voltage source inverter current. Okay, change in the wave shape of voltage source inverter current. Okay, before this dotted line, vertical dotted line, inverter was not supplying any compensating currents. Therefore, its current is seen to be okay, it seem to be sinusoidal. Okay, here you can see the variation of compensation factors. The moment power generation drops, this this GH is shifted from 0 to 1 based on the capacity. Okay, remaining capacity, because the remaining capacity now is sufficient enough to compensate all the harmonic current, so it has shifted to 1. But see, there is no space available for the inverter to go for compensation of GQ, compensation of reactive currents. Therefore, GQ is remain constant at 0 value. Okay. Then in this figure 9, what is happening? The power generation of the voltage source inverter is further reduced. Okay, from 7.25 kilowatt to 7.1. Then now you can see this GQ value, which is the reactive power compensation factor, has been changed from 0 to 1. That means now inverter is compensating both harmonic and reactive currents when your power generation is equal to 7.1 kilowatt. Okay. So as long as what is happening in this control structure, as long as inverter is not able to supply full harmonic currents, it will always set GQ to 0. That means it will not go for reactive currents compensation. Okay, that was one case. And in figure 10, this is the case when there is a load reduction. Okay, initially this DG inverter is supplying 7.4 kilowatt of active power. Okay, then what is happening with this remaining capacity? It is able to compensate partially. It was partially compensating these harmonic currents. Okay, that means GH is not even equal to 1. Okay, it's around 0.7 like that. Okay, under GQ is set to 0 because inverter is not able to compensate this harmonic currents fully. Then at after certain time, what we have changed, we have reduced the load to off. As we reduce the load to off, what this harmonic currents drawn by the load also reduces. That means with the remaining capacity, now the inverter is able to compensate both the load's harmonic current and the reactive currents. Okay, you can see here. Here is the change happening change in load happening, okay, then this your GH value is started to change. As long as GH value is less than 1, you see here we can see that GQ value is maintained at 0. Okay, once your GH value hits 1, okay, then our control algorithm goes and checks for the capacity, whether it can inverter capacity, whether it can accommodate reactive currents or not. Yeah, if it is yes, then appropriately accordingly it is going to change the GQ value. Okay, so that's how you can see here. Okay, similarly, we can understand the performance of this voltage source inverter when the load is increased from uh, when the load on the system is double. Because the load on the system is double, okay, that means the increase as the load increases, the harmonic and reactive currents drawn by the load also increases. So therefore, with the available remaining capacity, so inverter is not able to fully compensate them. So inverter is compensating partially only, okay, these harmonic currents. So when inverter is compensating harmonic currents partially, it will not compensate any reactive currents because priority is given uh, harmonic currents over these uh, reactive currents. Okay, that is about it. When there is no power generation at all, okay, when there is no power generation, you see here that means there is no power generation from the renewable energy sources. This inverter is simply acting as a active power filter, and you can see the it is also perfectly regulating this voltage source DC link voltage. Okay. Okay, this is about when we have a single inverter, but the idea of utilizing this remaining capacity of voltage source inverter would be more promising and feasible with multiple DG systems. Okay, usually if you take the case of microgrids, they will be having several sources of energy. They are generating, right? So that means we'll be having several voltage source inverters. So these all these voltage source inverters can be controlled. Okay, in order to provide this compensation of harmonic and reactive currents. So the idea of utilizing the remaining capacity of the voltage source inverters would be more promising with multiple DG systems, because if one of them reduces its compensation action due to peak power generation, other DGs with less power generation could take up could take up this compensation action. Okay, and therefore we can ensure continuity in power quality improvement services. Okay, because all the DG inverters being fully loaded is the probability that all the DG units being fully loaded is very low. With multiple DG systems, we need a coordinated control system. Okay, the control system has to coordinate with all the DGs in the microgrid or okay. Considering this coordinated control system, we would like to keep this control structure as simple as possible. Therefore, we need to eliminate inter-unit communication. Okay, for that purpose, we need a centralized control system, so that the signals will be sent to this individual inverters of the renewable energy sources. Okay, and they don't have to communicate with each other in order to provide compensation. Okay, so the coordinated control system developed in this system can be in this shown the coordinated control system that I'm showing now. It can be implemented for n number of systems also. So that is so simple. So it's also easy. It can be implemented very easily for n number of systems also. But here I'm demonstrating it considering only two DG sources. One DG source is coming from solar energy, and other DG source is extracting wind energy. Okay, so both the wind and solar energy, these inverters, the probability of operating these voltage source inverters at full power generation is very low. So if one is operating at full power generation, full active power generation, other can compensate for this power quality enhancement. Okay, so we have a centralized coordinated control, and then I'm sensing the powers that are being injected by DG1 and DG2. Okay, and also I'm sensing the currents of DG1 and DG2 and load current and PCC voltage. You can see here we have this control structure, coordinated control structure, and we have two power loops for injecting difference powers, okay, for DG1 and DG2. And then we like explained before, here also I'm estimating the reactive and harmonic components of the load current. Okay, based on their RMS values, I'm computing this compensation factors for individual inverters. At the same time, what I'm doing is I'm also taking care of the this low voltage right through operation. Under low voltage right through, during low voltage condition, whenever there is a grid fault, in this we will sense the fall in grid voltage. During this low voltage condition, these inverters stop injecting stop injecting active power, and they will start injecting reactive power. So in order to aid the grid recovery. So therefore, this the reference currents of these voltage source inverters will have three components. One is IP1, which is the active power generation component. ICOM1 is compensating current component, and IQ1 is the LVRT component. So this LVRT current comes into picture whenever there is a low voltage right whenever there is a low voltage right through situation. Otherwise, this IQ will be set to 0. If we have n number of DG systems, so we will be having IDG1 to IDGN. Okay. Okay. Since the inverters of DG system inject compensating current based on the remaining current capacities, the reference compensating currents of the DG1 and DG2 inverters are estimated as follows. So here you can see ICOM1 equal to GQ1 times IL1Q plus GH1 times harmonic current. Okay. So the expression is same for both DG1 and DG2, where here GH1 comma GH2 and GQ1 and GQ2 are the reactive and harmonic current compensation factors respectively of DG1 and DG2 inverters. They indicate the amount of compensation being offered by the inverter. For example, if GH1 and GH2 are found to be 0.6 and 0.4 respectively, that means DG1 inverter and DG2 inverter are compensating 60% and 40% of the ILH. Okay, so how do we decide which one is going to contribute more percentage? So that we will see. Okay, you see here if IR1 and IR2 are the rated currents of the DG1 inverter and DG2 inverter respectively. Upon allocating them for active power generation, then the remaining current capacities are estimated like this. So okay, you can see here we are calculating the remaining current capacities of the inverters. Once their capacity is set as part of their capacity is set aside for active power generation. Using IR1 prime and IR2 prime, these extract harmonic and the extract harmonic and reactive currents, we are going to estimate these compensation factors. Okay, first we take the actual these harmonic and reactive currents of the load. Okay, and we are going to distribute them among the DG inverters based on their remaining current capacity. Okay, so this is how we are going to distribute them. Okay, so proportional to their remaining current capacity. If IR1 prime is more than IR2 prime, so this inverter 1, DG1 inverter 1 is going to take more share of this compensating current. Okay, so here this XH1, XH2 and XQ1, XQ2 are called shared harmonic and reactive currents respectively. So whatever the harmonic and reactive currents existing in the system, they are first shared among these distributed generation inverters. After that, once they are shared, okay, they are shared proportional to their remaining current capacity. Okay, that means if inverter 1 has more remaining current capacity, it will accommodate more compensating current. Okay, so this way all the inverters will contribute to compensation as long as their remaining capacities are not equal to 0. So this type of sharing will ensure automatic involvement of all the inverters. Okay, we don't have to go for inter-unit communication also. Okay, Once we have that, then we'll be once we have xh1, xh2, xq1, and xq2, we'll be compensating with those you know compensation factors using these one instead of using these ILH and IL1Q. Okay. So once we have these compensation factors, then we need to calculate this low voltage ride through current. During low voltage condition, the control algorithm injects reactive current to aid the grid recovery and reduces the active power generation to accommodate LVRT current. Okay. Further, the control algorithm sets compensation. Okay, during low voltage period, it sets compensation currents to zero. Okay, the reactive current IQ to be injected by the inverters is computed based on this grid codes. Here you see here if the grid voltage magnitude is greater than 0.9 pu, this reactive current component, this LVRT current of the voltage source inverter will be set to zero. If it is if the grid current grid voltage magnitude, okay, lies between 0.5 and 0.9, this is how we estimate IQ current, the reactive current to be injected by the voltage source inverter. This expression we use it. Okay. If if grid voltage magnitude is less than 0.5, so we go for this expression for calculating the reactive current magnitude. Okay. Here Vm is the PCC voltage in PCC voltage magnitude in per unit, and IR is the rated grid current, rated inverter current. Okay. So here the problem is to when calculating IQ, what we need to do is we need to limit the uh, we need to limit the active power generation, right? So in order how to limit this active power generation, we see here. So here this is IP star K is the active power generating current. Okay, if this and then we calculate the IP limit. We compare that with the IP limit based on this equation. If that is greater than, okay, if this IP limit is greater than IP star K, okay, then we will set it to IP star K only. If that is less than, if this IP limit is less than IP star K, then IP star of K, means here K indicates the nth sample, okay. So then what we do, we equate it to IP limit. So this is why, in this way, what we are doing is we are limiting the inverter current during LVRT. During the transition between grid LVRT mode and normal operating mode. Okay. So here, once we have the magnitude of LVRT current, low voltage right to current, this is the instantaneous current. This is how we use it. And cos omega t, here omega 1 t is obtained from the PLN. Okay. Yeah. Then here we have results showing this coordinated control of two DG inverters. We have DG1, DG2. Excuse me. And here this this orange line is the grid current, and this yellow line is the grid voltage. Okay. When both the inverters are fully loaded with active power generation, they are not providing any harmonic and reactive currents compensation. Okay, so therefore their their waveforms are seen to be sinusoidal. Once their power generation is reduced, active power generation is reduced, they are trying to compensate harmonic currents. Okay, in this case, in figure 1, what we are doing is DG2 power is kept constant, only DG1 power is reduced. So therefore that is the reason why DG2 current is changing after this power generation is reduced. In figure 16, what we are doing, we are keeping the DG1 power same as that of previous value, which is 7.3, and now reducing this DG2 power from 7.5 kilowatt to 7.3 kilowatt. Okay, now you can see the change in the DG2 current as well, because it is also giving its contribution for these harmonic currents compensation. Okay, you can see here both the currents are not sinusoidal because they are offering harmonic currents compensation. Okay, and improvement in grid current can also be seen when we have fully compensated these harmonic and reactive currents. Okay, similarly, you can understand the effect on load change. Okay, initially with the uh, initially when we are connecting full load, that means when the load is when the load is as rated value, so both the DGs are partially providing the compensation of harmonic currents. When the load is reduced, okay, they are fully able to compensate the harmonic and reactive currents of the reduced load. Okay. Okay, that is about that's like same as the previous case, same as the case with single DG inverter. Okay, now we see here low voltage right through performance. You can see here we have a voltage sag here occurring as the voltage sag happens. What is happening? The inverters they reduce the active power generation, okay, and they start to inject reactive current into the grid to aid grid recovery. Okay, once the grid is recovered from this voltage sag or fault, you see here inverter is going back to normal mode of operation, and also you can see the smooth transition between LVRT mode to normal mode of operation. Okay, that is about it. And we have here, you see, when both the inverters are fully loaded with active power generation, they are not giving any harmonic currents compensation. We can see the distortion PCC voltage, and consequently, we have more. We have THD of voltage more than 6%. Okay, when both the inverters are providing compensation, this you can see improvement in PCC voltage, and you can see that this THD is about 2% for grid voltage. Okay, that is about actual multifunctional nature of our DG sources. And then now let's have a look at synchronization aspect of these DG inverters. So, we all know that we need a PLL for this synchronization purpose. And for this, in this case, what I am doing is I am designing a PLL using the same ANC filter. Okay, to design a PLL for the single phase system, what I am doing is I am giving you PCC voltage as input to this ANC filter, and this WQ component of this ANC filter is set to is given to PI. Okay, under under phase lock loop condition, so this WQ value will be 0, and your PI controller reaches steady state when WQ is 0. Okay, it reaches steady state. That means your here output is same as that of in that case PI controller output will be same as that of previous value. Okay, and the PI controller output is added to the nominal frequency, which is 50 kilohertz, but here we are using we are taking the frequency in radians per second. Okay, so we add this PI control output to the nominal frequency, that will give us the frequency of fundamental component of the PCC voltage. Okay, so again we by integrating this frequency output of this PLL, you would get the phase of the our PCC voltage. Okay, so this is one way of using it. Another way of using this other way of developing the PLL is using the same multiple structures of filters. So okay, because single ANC based filter will a single ANC filter based PLL will give sluggish performance, also will give inferior performance under distorted conditions compared to multiple ANC filters based PLL. Okay, while using multiple ANC filters based PLL, we take the we take the WQ component of the filter that is employed for fundamental frequency component estimation. Okay, then we set that to when then that WQ will be given to PI controller. Okay, so next thing is same. After that, we'll follow the same procedure. Okay, here is the comparison between multiple ANC filters based PLL and a single ANC filter based PLL. Okay, most of here I have considered three cases. One is First case is jump in frequency. Second case is phase angle jump. The third case is voltage sag. Fourth one is voltage harmonics. Okay. In first three cases, okay, in first three cases, all the three PLL, both the single filter based, single ANC filter based PLL and multiple ANC filter based PLL, both are giving same performance, equal performance. But the difference is when they have harmonics in the voltage. Okay, here this blue line is the PLL output, frequency output of the PLL when we have harmonics in the uh, grid voltage. Okay, that is from this blue line is coming from multiple ANC filter, and the red line and green line are coming from second order generalized integrator based PLL and single ANC filter based PL. Okay, so we can say that when we take multiple ANC based filters based PLL, it will give better superior performance in case of grid voltage harmonics, grid voltage distortion. Okay, so that is about it. And then Sandeep, we have time. Please. Hello.
Yes, another 10 minutes.
Okay. So that's about the performance of this PLL I have used. Okay. When if this is the case of in case of three-phase system, how do we use it? Actually, in case of three-phase system, we have to use these uh, two structures for the PLL. Okay, we need two multiple ANC filter structures. One is for alpha component, another one is for beta component. Okay, so that's how we implement that. Then now, so far we have looked at shunt compensation only. So that means that those are the DG systems with shunt compensation capabilities. Now here we will be looking into DG systems with series and shunt compensation capabilities. Okay, so so in case of previous case, when there was uh, low voltage right through, the only inverter, the shunt voltage, the inverter voltage source inverter could only provide reactive current, but it does not give any, it does not show any effect on load voltage, right? Okay, but here if you take a series converter, series voltage source inverter. Okay, so if you take series shunt configuration like this here, so during low voltage condition, we can also maintain, load voltage constant and sinusoidal. Okay, and here the DG source I'm considering is a PV. This PV is placed on the DC link bus. Is connected across the DC link bus of this series shunt configuration, and this series converter injects voltage in phase with the these PCC voltages uh, to maintain load voltage constant during SAT. Whereas in case of swell, it will inject in phase opposition with the grid voltages, so to maintain load voltage at its rated value. Okay, and whereas if you look at the shunt converter operation, it is similar to that of previous explanation. Okay, so this is the overall control diagram. We are getting we are giving pulses to series converter to give a reference load voltage, and we are giving pulses to shunt converter to get reference active power generation and harmonic currents compensation. Okay, and then we have pulses, and we need to generate pulses to the boost converter to extract maximum power from these PV panels. Okay, so this shunt converter configuration, control configuration is same as that of previous case. So there is nothing new here. And if you look at series converter control, what I'm doing is I'm generating reference load voltages. Okay, and I'm comparing those reference load voltages with the PCC voltages. If and the difference should be the series converter injected voltages. Okay, based on the difference, this difference, actual series injected voltage and the reference in series voltage, series converter voltage, we will be getting error. That error is processed with PR, proportional plus resonant controllers, to generate, PW, modulating waveforms for the series converter. Okay. Then, yeah, then we have experimental results. You can see here. You can see the performance here when there is irradiation change and there is irradiation drop. PV power generation reduces. Okay, PV generation is reducing, and you can see the reduction in grid current as well as uh, shunt converter current. When there is a irradiation rise, you can see the power being injected into the grid increases, and also you can see the increase in shunt converter current. Okay, here is the case when we have a voltage sag. When there is a voltage sag, then series converter comes into picture. The series converter injects voltage in phase with your PCC voltage in order to maintain load voltage constant. So you can see here this orange waveform, which is a constant irrespective of your grid voltage variation. Okay, so when it is injecting voltage in series with grid, see the current is coming out of the positive terminal, this line current. Okay, so that means it is supplying the active power. Okay, so it is supplying the active power. So that active power is being taken from this. That means a part of this PV generated active power is being supplied through shunt converter. So that means here, sorry, supplied through series converter. That means the shunt converter will be relieved from the part of the PV generation. Okay, so in case of swell, what will happen? This injected voltage will have minus here and a plus here. Okay, that means it is absorbing the power. Okay, so this absorbs the power from the grid to compensate for this swell. So that power, series inverter absorbed power will be fed to the DC link. Then the DC link voltage rises. When DC link voltage rises, this converter is regulating the DC link voltage. So in order to maintain DC link voltage, it will inject this series converter absorbed power into the grid, okay, or to the load. Okay, so that means in case of swell, what is happening? It is operating at it has to, the shunt converter has to handle the PV power as well as the this you know as well as this series converter power. Okay, that you need to see based on the grid current direction. If this is a reverse, so opposite thing will happen. Okay, if the power is, if the grid current direction is reverse, that means the grid current and grid voltage are out of phase. Okay, that will in case of series, in case of voltage sag, series converter absorbs the power and feed it back to the grid through shunt converter. Okay, so those things we can see here. So what is happening, all those things, and then the thing you need to observe here is that the grid is always free from reactive power generation. Okay, whereas shunt converter reactive power varies based on your load variation, and and the shunt converter active power variation is decided by swag swell periods. Okay, during the swell period, you see here shunt converter is supplying less power. During the sag period, okay, this is not sag. Okay, here you can see here. So during this voltage sag, the shunt converter is supplying more power, which is the power generated by PV and the power generated by power absorbed by the series converter. During voltage swell, it is supplying less power, which is the power generated by the PV minus shunt series converter power. Okay, that's about it with series compensation. So this is about, and this is another type of topology where we are using, the distribution transformer as we are using the windings of distribution transformer for the series converter instead of using separate transformers to inject the voltage generated by the series converter. Okay, so except that everything is same. It will. So the principle of operation is same for both three phase as well as single phase DG systems with series and shunt configuration. Okay, that's about it. Thank you.